Hello friends, this is Promi, and welcome back to the Kerbal Commonwealth Space Agency. Given some thought to our tech choices, we do have the 291 science from our previous mission. So let's go to the Research and Development Facility. So I think I'm going to grab 3 90 cost nodes. Get the advanced gimbals, gives us a number of new engine options, and I'm going to grab reaction wheels. Could potentially give our probes a bit more torque if they need it, and that also leads on to reaction control thrusters and spacecraft docking. So that's a good path to be going down. And finally, I'm going to grab Precision Engineering, mainly for this, the accelerometer. You can get some more science from many easily accessible biomes. Okay, so we're down at 21 science now. Just gonna research that part because we will definitely be using it. Okay, I think it's time for another tour around KSC with our new instrument. Valentina, Halnie, and Bob are out in the runabout once again. I'm sure Bob is a little tired of having to sit in that cabin. Getting readings from our new accelerometer at all the different KSC biomes, as well as the shores and the grasslands. A little bit of a mishap occurred. I think one of the tires was overpressurized because it exploded with great force and flipped the rover completely over. This is actually the first time I've seen a random failure generated by the Dang It Random Failures mod. The incident got Halnie a bit roughed up, so she's going to head to medical and then back to her quarters, while Valentina and Bob finished the survey mission, and the rest of the mission went off without any problems. Just heading back now from the grasslands. See how much science we end up with now. Alright, with the new data from that rover mission, we now have 77.5 science, so that'd be enough to get in one of the 45 nodes we have remaining, but or the 45 cost nodes. But I don't think there's anything really pressing there, so I think we'll leave our science alone for now. We did get seismic readings from all the KSC biomes, grasslands, shores, and also managed to squeeze a little bit more data out of some additional surface samples. So if you recall, we did have a plan put forth by the administrator. We've accomplished some of it. Still need to send Kerbals to the moon, obviously, but something closer to home that we need to do is set up a satellite network around Kerbin. And this will allow us to map the planet as well. It's kind of funny that we've actually mapped the moon before Kerbin. But let's head to the VAB, and we will build ourselves a satellite and a launcher. Okay, well, so let's start with the probe core. Do our usual thing with the little adapter. Okay, let's put on a fuel tank. The satellite itself will not have much, just a little one, should be enough, and an engine. Okay, so now we need our mapping antenna, major component. And on the other side, we'll do one of our comms dishes to balance it out a bit. We'll also allow it to act as a relay satellite. Should say them, really, because I am planning on launching 3 of these. Okay, let's put some batteries on here. going to add it to this side to balance out that larger antenna. Going to flip them around. Okay, we're going to translate them a bit just so they stick out of the top just a little bit. So let's rotate them down so that they are more straight and more vertical. Having a bit of trouble selecting that one. Come on. Ah, got it. I think that looks pretty good. This is going to have a similar look to the front of the lily pad. Set to the Mune. Some other antennas on here, mostly just for looks. I'm going to inset them a bit so they fit in a fairing better. So inset this as well. Okay, now we need some solar panels. I'm going to put 2 here and 2 here. Actually, maybe let me reconsider. So I'll put, let's see, 2 like this, and then like this, just to get them to fit in nicely. Oh, what happened? Oh, they're not mirroring. Right, okay. I'm thinking about this as if it was a different symmetry mode. So I guess I'll do these one at a time to get them how I want. Try to get them all even. I think that's good. I think it'll all come in a little bit. They're kind of floating off the surface. So let's just pull them in until they make contact. Can't really see on this one. So they could just do contact with the this dark gray ring here. Okay, that's pretty good. So, now we need to lift her on here. So I need a decoupler first of all. And fairing ring. Let's see, where's the one I have unlocked? Oh, here it is. We'll use the cone fairing. There we go, it's all nicely encapsulated. Okay, we need one of these, and one of the smaller ones. And we'll use our new LVT-45 swivel. This way we won't have to use any control surfaces. We will use some fins for stability though. They will be smaller, lighter ones. AVT1. They're also kind of floating off the surface, and I want them back pretty far. So I'm going to bring them in, down. I'm going to use that sort of red part on the engine as a guide. There we go. Now I need some parachutes so we can try to recover our lifter once we detach the probe. See, we've got about 4,600 meters per second of delta V, which should be enough for our purposes. Okay, there's our recovery parachutes. That's looking pretty good. So let's set up our staging. Bottom should be... oh, actually one more thing. Some launch clamps. Just to keep things nice and steady on the launch pad. There we go. So, staging. We want engine first, and then the clamps, and then the fairing separation, followed by the separation of the probe and deployment of the parachutes, and then the probe's engine finally. So the probe is going to be Spyglass 1, and the lifter will be the L5 Lantern. Okay, so what we're going to do is launch 3 of these in 2-hour intervals at an angled orbit. Then we should have even coverage around the planet that way. I'm going to try to put them into like a 45 or 55 degree orbit, but we will see how I manage. So let's take Spyglass 1 off to the launch pad. Okay, here we are on the launch pad. One thing I changed just now was I lowered the thrust limiter on the engine, so our thrust to weight ratio is more under control on liftoff. Also lowered the gimbal rate and gimbal range so we don't oversteer. Turn on SAS, full throttle, and we're good for launch. So in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and liftoff. Once we're at about 50 meters per second, I'm going to roll the rocket in order to make it easier to steer in our desired direction, because we are putting this in an inclined orbit. Okay, let's roll. And aim down the edge of the numbers there. Okay, let's start our pitch over. Okay, our main stage is going to be running out of fuel shortly. Just about. Okay, jettison the fairings and the stage. Our engine started up, and aiming for about 90 kilometers, so not much more. Do overdo it just a little bit because we're still in the atmosphere. Okay, let's add a maneuver node now. The lifting stage has actually gotten quite high and has quite a bit of velocity. We'll probably exit the atmosphere. Not sure how well it will be able to survive this suborbital flight. Main stage is re-entering the atmosphere now, starting to pick up a bit of rotation. I think due to the weight in the engine, it's probably going to try to go down tail first. Yeah, we're starting to get some compression heating on the way back down. So we're almost at our node. Let's get lined up with our maneuver vector. Okay, start the burn. Okay, cut the throttle. Let's get all our antennas out. Start the radar scan. Extend our dish. Extend our antennas. Okay, what else do we have to do here? Our apoapsis is 98 and our periapsis is 60. I'm not going to do... Let's try to fix that periapsis. go. Okay, so I'm going to warp around to our apoapsis to bring our periapsis up. Okay, we got a message that our lifter was successfully recovered. Looks like stage recovery was actually not accurate, and our stage was not recovered. Instead broke up due to aerodynamic stresses. Just watching a piece of it fall here, many bits already impacted. I'll have to tweak the parameters of stage recovery to take account of this. I think the booster went up too high and too fast to be recovered. Well, we still have our other Spyglass satellites to launch in the next 4 hours, so no time to do any modifications here. We'll just have to use those boosters as expendable. Okay, we're at our apoapsis. So let's bring periapsis up to 90. Okay, overdid it just a little bit. Can try to bring it down. That's better. Okay, let's warp to periapsis. Basically just being fussy with my orbit here because I want the 3 satellites to all have pretty similar orbits. Mostly it just looks nice in map view. There we go. That's pretty good. So, I think what we're going to do is I'm just going to wait until 2 hours has elapsed up here. And then we will launch Spyglass 2. See how our mapping is progressing first. There we go, we have pretty good coverage. We'll need to put one more satellite in a polar orbit to map the poles, but these 3 should get pretty good coverage. So let's just wait until it's time to launch Spyglass 2. So we're going to complete the next 2 launches of our satellite constellation in time-lapse fashion, since it's basically the same exact profile again. Okay, so Spyglass 2 and Spyglass 3 are now in their final orbits. We have a nice looking satellite constellation now around Kerbin. And the orbital map of Kerbin is coming along quite nicely. Pretty happy with how this turned out. So let's head back to the Space Center. Okay, I've skipped forward a few days. We're back at our Space Center, and I think we're going to launch one more Spyglass satellite. This one will be a little bit different, so let's head to the VAB. Alright, let's grab our L5 from before. Now, as I mentioned, this one is going to go into a polar orbit. We will call it Spyglass 4. We're going to change up the rocket a bit, so this is going to be the L5A. Let's take off the launch clamps for a moment. Now what I want to do is try to make this booster recoverable, since that was not happening before. Firstly, I'm going to put a little more fuel on here, just because of our extra equipment we're going to need, and also because polar orbit takes a little bit more delta V. Okay, so let's take our parachutes off for now. I'm going to add on some air brakes. So let's add 2 of them. Like this. Maybe I should have 4. Seems like it might be overkill. Yeah, we'll go with 4. Okay, so let's put our parachutes back on. We'll wedge them between here. And then we can, actually I should probably pull these down a little bit so that they are not in the way of the fairings when they eject. Okay, now I'm going to pull the parachutes in a little bit. Okay, there. Now they're not touching the air brakes. And let's see. If this thing's going to land on land, which it probably will be doing with this trajectory, we'll probably want some legs on here, because that rocket engine is not very strong. So let's use the normal size LT1s. 4 of them on here. Let's extend them, see how we're doing. Go down a little further. Lock suspension, otherwise I think this thing will fall over. Let's just bring it down a little bit. And bring it in a little bit, just to minimize the drag. Okay, let's bring them back in. Okay, so let's make sure our staging is right. First I want to fix this thing. The thrust to weight ratio is high enough off the pad. Now we can put our launch clamps back on. Structural, yes, there. Okay, let's pull this thing down just a little bit, like so. Get our staging set up, engine, clamps, fairing, parachutes. No, fairing goes here, then parachutes and that engine. Okay, so we'll need to deploy the air brakes and the landing struts. before we decouple, because the booster itself doesn't have any brains. And I think the parachute should be primed when we decouple, and then real chute will deploy them automatically when it gets to the correct altitude. Alright, so let's head to the launch pad. Okay, I'm going to try to time this so that we lift off so that we intersect one of the vertices of this triangle created by our orbits. And it actually looks like we're in just about the right place for that. So I think we will launch right away. So in 4, 3, 2, 1, and ignition and liftoff. Okay, so we're going to roll slightly once we hit 50 meters per second. So we want to go not exactly north, compensate for the rotation of the planet. And then at 100 meters per second, we will start our pitch over maneuver. Okay, I'm going to rotate our rocket a little bit. About like that should do it. Okay, start pitching over. Check our apoapsis. Hard to click on without activating the maneuver thing. There we go. Okay, we're going to run out of fuel momentarily. Okay, let's jettison the fairings, deploy our air brakes and our legs, deploy our satellite. Okay, we can see our satellite heading off to orbit now. And the lifting stage is orienting itself. It's tumbling a bit right now, actually. The air is pretty thin up here. I'm just going to time warp forward. I think it will leave the atmosphere. Okay, there we go. We are out of the atmosphere. I'm just going to time warp until we re-enter, and then again time warp until something interesting starts happening. Okay, so looks like the air brakes are doing the job of getting our rocket pointed in the right direction. Getting some compression heating now. Oscillating a bit, but I think it's okay. Compression heating looks like it's going to ease off a bit. I'm concerned about these parachutes. There's nothing indicating that they're pre-deployed. Oh, that's not right. Come on, rocket. You don't want to point in that direction. Why has it suddenly flipped over? At low altitudes. Don't know why the aerodynamic properties would have changed. Parachute's gonna do anything? Well, it's not looking super promising. Parachutes did not deploy, and we are facing the wrong direction. Well, that was a failure. Well, back to the drawing board on the reusable booster, I suppose. Okay, let's go back to Spyglass 4 and circularize its orbit. Alright, we are back with Spyglass 4 and we are just setting up our circularization burn maneuver node. Pull it out. So what do we have here? 82 and 96. I think I might just do what I did before. I just got the periapsis to basically the minimum to remain in space, and then just fixed the apoapsis and periapsis after we achieve orbit. Looks like we got kind of close to. Looks like we're not quite polar. I'll try to fix our inclination once we get our orbit sorted out. I guess we need to start up our engine. Just give it a quick pulse. Okay, so let's burn. I was just doing that to make sure we knew, or the maneuver node system knew how much power that engine had, because it was giving an estimated burn at like 3 minutes. See if I can get this a little more northward. Okay, let's see what our orbit looks like. Oh, but we're out of fuel. Okay, well we did half of it, I guess. And that's pretty close. Not quite as tidy as my other orbits, but it's alright. Okay, well we got our satellite constellation set up, plus the additional polar one. Tested that reusable booster. Although we failed to successfully recover it, so that will take some prototyping. But I think we've done enough for this episode, so I hope you have enjoyed this. This has been Promi. Thanks for watching.